Belmar Press on October 6, 2014, and notice of this meeting was posted on the multiple municipal building.
Please rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for a moment of silence. Remember, our troops abroad and their families here at home. And also, please keep your thoughts and prayers. Passing of a longtime DPW worker, Bill Duchère. Thank you. We don't have anything formally on for a workshop discussion, but I did ask, I'm not sure if they're here, the new owners of the Getty gas station. They here? No? Well, anyway, to make a plug for the new Getty gas station, everyone knows where it is. It's on Main Street and 16th, and they have new owners, and the new owners have much more reliable hours. There's a great convenience to having a gas station in town. So if they were here, they would tell you more positive things about it. But I would just encourage everyone to use Getty gas station in Belmar. Vince, any petitions?
Actually, I was on for a workshop, please. Mayor, I was reading over the agenda and going over the 2014-18, and I'm not very convinced that by repealing this ordinance, it actually is going to remove the petition. I'm afraid that just by removing this, or by repealing this ordinance, the petition will still be in place. And I don't want to have a special election. I would like to make a motion to put on a resolution to accept the petition on this agenda.
Mike, do you want to address that?
Yeah, Mayor, I can do that. Tomorrow, the court case that was filed in reference to this ordinance is up for hearing. The judge tomorrow will be advised on what transpires as to the repealing of the ordinance. It was a representation by me that it was on for a vote, and I would tell the court on that. Tomorrow, at that point in time, the judge will then determine whether there is any merit for the lawsuit to go further. And also, the judge will probably appraise us tomorrow as to what she thinks whether the petition is really needed. So,
Okay.
I'll have some
To play it safe, because we don't know what the judge is going to say, let's put on a resolution calendar that we're going to accept the petition and have a vote on it, just to put it on the record.
Well, the petition's already been accepted, so the
No. Have a resolution to accept the petition, meaning that we accept what it says.
well, that petition only had specific changes to the ordinance. This ordinance that is being proposed basically rescinds the ordinance, and says we're going back to square one. So
I understand that, sir.
Again, I'm not quite sure if that achieves the purpose of that.
Well,
the petition in and of itself is governed by a different statute.
I did a lot of extensive reading today. In order to play it safe, in order to save taxpayer money, let's do both. Is that acceptable? I mean, if we're going to repeal it anyways.
The resolution in and of itself is not going to stop the petition in the statute.
I know that. So let's then have a vote and accept the petition.
The resolution doesn't do anything. The resolution, what does something is the introduction to the ordinance that you are doing tonight to repeal. That is more effective than whatever resolution you are proposing, because you are enunciating. And remember, this is just on for an introduction. You still have to have another meeting. I told the judge this, that you have to have another meeting in order to rescind the ordinance to adopt it. So tonight's just on for introduction. The resolution that you're asking will not accomplish anything.
I disagree. I will quote to you the law. If within 20 days of submission of a certified petition by the municipal clerk, the council shall fail to pass an ordinance requested by the initiative petition in subsequently the form requested, meaning the exact form requested, or to repeal an ordinance as requested by the referendum petition. We don't have a referendum petition. We did not request an appeal, we requested a change. And I believe we need to save taxpayer money, we should vote on that, accept the petition, and then we could also then remove this ordinance, and then no matter what the judge says, because if the judge says tomorrow, hey, the petition's still good, what do we do then?
Yeah, but that's unlikely due to the fact that.
I'm not asking what's likely, sir. I'm asking you, let's play it safe and do a vote.
I'm telling you that that resolution that you're offering is useless. I'm also telling you that the steps that you are taking to rescind the ordinance sends a greater force and effect as to removing the petition, necessity of the petition. The petition, if you'll note, and I think that the lawsuit that was filed specifically asked for a number of different things. One was that you stop the pavilion, and you did that last time because you voted to rescind all bids and all moving forward with respect to the pavilion. It also asked for the insertion or amendment to the ordinance specific language. It's my opinion, as well as my recommendation, that you rescind the ordinance and go back to square one, and I think that is what is occurring.
Mr. Pop,
Yes.
what happens tomorrow if the judge says the petition still stands?
But you have nothing to do.
I didn't ask you what happens.
I'm going to tell you right now that I don't think the petition and the
Sir,
election.
please answer the question.
I
What
did.
happens
I
if
did.
the judge says the petition still stands? What happens?
I don't think the judge is going to do that.
You won't, sir, what happens if the judge says the petition still stands?
Well, I guess petition to vote on an ordinance that's been rescinded.
What happens if the judge says the petition stands?
Well, you have the right to brief the topic and tell the judge that, hey, listen, the petition is being asked, or the petition of the voters are being asked to vote on something that has been rescinded.
I think you're kind of dodging the question.
I'm not dodging the question.
Is it possible, let me rephrase, is it possible that the judge can still force us to have a referendum election if he says it still stands? Is it possible?
On a rescinded ordinance?
Is it possible?
On a rescinded ordinance?
Yes.
No, I don't know what the vote is for.
So you're saying it's impossible for the judge, come tomorrow, if the petition still stands, you're saying it's impossible to have us go forward with a referendum, that the petition is moot?
Again, I'm not arguing, I'm not counsel for the petitioners. I'm the counsel for the borough.
And I know that now, and I want to avoid a special election.
And tomorrow, remember, I'm only representing to the court that this ordinance was introduced.
Right, and I'm trying to avoid a special election.
Well, you want to.
And I can guarantee us avoiding a special election.
Well,
if
that
you
could
accept that
easily done,
petition.
because if you are so closely connected to the petitioners, that you can certainly ask them to withdraw the petition.
I'm connected, sir, I'm connected to the council, and I'm trying to avoid a special
And
referendum.
that's correct, and I am telling you right now that tonight you are taking an affirmative action by rescinding this ordinance. You are not adopting it because it's introduction. The petitioners, upon seeing this action, can be asked to withdraw the petition. And if in fact you are solely convinced, and they are convinced too, to avoid a costly election, they can withdraw the petition. And I think tomorrow, one of the things that I'm going to be asking Mr. Pringle's law firm for is to withdraw the petition. Because there is nothing going to be able to be voted on because the ordinance will be rescinded.
But you know what, I can save a lot of legal fees, so you don't have to talk to Mr. Pringle, if we just accept the petition tonight, and it's done with.
But the petition already has been certified.
I don't care if it's certified, accept it. We all vote that we accept the petition and we scratch the language. Okay, I hear you. You disagree, you don't think it, okay.
But
You know what? Go ahead.
isn't this what we talked about at the last meeting? We wanted to come to some type of change in language so that we could avoid all this. 2 weeks ago, we had this meeting, and the next day, I met with the administrator, and we reached out to Mrs. Klapsis, and she contacted the other members that petitioned, and they said they wanted it to go forward, that they weren't willing to talk about this. But
No, we didn't.
we sat here last meeting, and talked about exactly what you're saying now.
Council President McGovern, The only person that talked about what I'm talking about now is myself. When I said we should be stop discussing how we can circumvent this and start discussing whether we're going to have a referendum or we're going to accept the petition. I asked you that
Since
2
they didn't
weeks
want
ago.
to, since they didn't want to come and speak with us and do any type of compromise on the language, and that they wanted the petition to go forward, then in speaking with our administrator, we decided we would rescind the ordinance.
Okay.
Because I don't want to go to court. I don't want the litigation either. I don't want another referendum. So I think the best course of action is, unfortunately, even though I think it's a good ordinance, I choose to fight my battles, and this is a battle I don't want to fight because I don't think it's good for the town of Belmar. Let's rescind the ordinance if we can't come to a compromise, and then work on contacting other towns, find out what kind of ordinances they have, how they get things done, and if it's successful in their town, maybe we'll use it. But we talked about this 2 weeks ago. We wanted to do it, and now you're just reversing it.
Council President McGovern, do you want to have a special election, yes or no?
No,
Good, so when I make the motion, you're going to second it, correct? To accept the petition. Because listen, Council President McGovern, listen.
I'm trying to find your strategy here.
We're going to go to court tomorrow.
Right.
And the judge is going to say, you cannot circumvent a petition by repealing the ordinance.
Why do you say that? How do you know? What's your legal background?
Right here. I got tons of legal background. Glad you asked.
Yeah.
There you go, pass it down. Lexus, Texas. There you go, pass all that down to him.
And you went to law school, right?
No, I just read.
No, you were just reading. And did you go to law school?
Established
Right?
that no ordinance may be amended or repealed. By 3 years, except by a vote of the people, unless the power of the voter to exercise his right to initiative and referendum cannot be abridged. Basically, number 2, trial court erred by invalidating an initiative petition seeking to maintain a city's police department and avoid consolidation between the Faulkner Act because of the Faulkner Act, and establishes that no ordinance could be amended or repealed for 3 years. It's basically saying you can't just repeal it to get rid of it.
Again, you know, I'm going to have to humbly disagree with you because when I was in conversation with Judge Perry, we specifically talked about that. It's my recommendation that the Mayor and Council introduce this ordinance. I told the judge that I would appear in court tomorrow at 10 o'clock or 10:30 to advise the judge of the vote. In addition, there will be discussions on the need for the referendum, if any, with the adoption of this ordinance. So, I mean, I appreciate you wanting to save some money.
I have one more question, and I'm finished. If we accept the petition, we can, am I correct or not correct? If we accept the petition, we cannot then bring forward another ordinance with the same language or close to the same language. Is that correct?
No, you're rescinding, or I don't know what your ordinance is going to say.
No, I'm just saying, if we accept the petition,
You're amending, right now, you're rescinding the ordinance, starting from scratch, from square one. So, for you to take the position that this borough cannot come back with a specific ordinance that may be changed, drastically, I think is a stretch.
but if we accept the petition, can we do that?
That's not my advice that you accept.
You're my lawyer, you're my borough counsel, we have a petition in front of
I'm
us.
telling you right now, it's not my advice that you accept.
The way I see this, last January, we passed an ordinance that wasn't well received by people in town. They took a petition, they got 441 names saying they wanted a referendum if we did not repeal it. we're gonna repeal it,
Actually,
because
that's incorrect. We did not say if you don't, I'm saying we, the petitioners said that they do not repeal it. They asked for a language change.
they did
That's
not,
a big
they
significant
told us
difference.
they did not like that ordinance.
That's-
And to avoid a referendum, the council, I think, is being smart enough to say, let's not go through another referendum, we don't need this. All right, let's rescind that ordinance that the petitioners were against, and go back to the drawing board, which I'm sure happens all the time in many municipalities, cities throughout the country, when the public comes forth, petition, they're absolutely legal right to do that. We looked at it, we tried to negotiate back and forth, see if we could come to a compromise. No. So what's our next option? All right,
If
let's get rid of
I
it.
might add, Mr. Kramer's law firm representing the plaintiffs in this case are encouraging this, they are supporting this action. They have not mentioned the need for a resolution for accepting the petition.
I know that, but
They are encouraging this, and they also recognize, I think, that there's some discussions that we're going to be held tomorrow about that this will resolve the differences between their group, reduce the cost of legal fees, and also stop the referendum or the election held.
but you're arguing how to remove the lawsuit. I'm arguing how to remove the petition.
Yeah.
That's all I'm arguing.
But I'm saying that by taking the steps that you're taking, you're accomplishing.
Okay. April, ma'am, please record for the record, I'm gonna make a motion
Hey, buddy, you
to have a vote tonight to accept the petition. And I'll make a motion that we put on a resolution tonight that we accept the petition as it is, so that we do not go to a referendum vote if the judge says the petition stands. Do I have a second?
I need more counsel from my, because that is, I'm sorry, I'm confused with what you're asking. Because I'm listening to our legal attorney, who I think has a lot more expertise on this matter than anybody up here on the dais. And, I don't mind voting, as long as I know what I'm voting for. There's confusion here. Mr. DuPont, he just made a motion.
His motion, if I understand correctly, is that if the judge says that, hey, listen, you have introduced this ordinance to rescind the specific ordinance, but it does not stop the petition.
Correct.
Then you want to.
I would like to vote.
Accept
Correct.
the petition.
Correct.
But didn't we already accept the petition when they walked up here that night?
The
petition was certified.
Certified.
It was certified.
It was certified.
All right, so we don't have to vote.
You know what you could do, there's another option here is, let's say hypothetically that you're correct. You can always hold a special meeting just for the purpose of, so tomorrow, let's say the judge does exactly what you want. And says, oh, by the way, even though you introduced this ordinance, you know what, I'm not quite sure that it stops the petition for the election. You can request a special meeting just simply to do that resolution.
Think of all those costs of advertising the meeting. We could do it right now and be done with it.
The costs are minimal.
Well, I don't think they're minimal.
If I could offer, as the borough administrator, we are talking about introducing an ordinance tonight to repeal the entirety of this ordinance. Okay, this is, as Mr. DuPont has said numerous times, to take us back to square one, and as President McGovern has stated.
Which is what the petitioners want, right?
To be
No.
deliberative and consider our options. This is the responsible and complete thing to do. To suggest to do something in addition to a complete rescission, to me, borders on the ridiculous.
Okay, well, I'm ridiculous then, April. Please make a note that I did make a motion, and if nobody seconds it, nobody seconds it, but I tried to stop the special election right here, right now. Any other?
I'm not seconding it, and I would if I quite honestly understood what this whole
Okay,
deal,
let me-
there's too much ambiguity going on right here
Make it-
on this.
Make it, There are two issues, Councilman. There's the lawsuit and there's the petition. And what Mr. DuPont is talking about is satisfying the lawsuit. I'm trying to satisfy the petition. I do not believe by just rescinding an ordinance, it resolves a petition.
What's the referendum going to be if the ordinance isn't there?
Well, basically, it's going to say that they can't bring it back. That's what it's saying.
Oh, all right, I see where you're coming from. You think this vote tonight, we're cynical and that we're just doing this, and then we're gonna bring it back as soon as possible.
Well, Colleen already seen in the paper that she's doing that. In today's paper, she said, we're bringing this back with different wording. I mean,
No, maybe she was misquoted. We are looking at other towns and seeing what kind of ordinances they have. We still want responsible contractors coming into Belmar, doing work the proper way the first time, and getting the lowest bidder in there. That's what Belmar wants.
we all want that, sir. But,
Absolutely.
But the petitioners asked to strike certain language, and they don't want that language coming back. And I'm trying to satisfy that requirement. That's all I'm trying to do.
If I may, I do not believe the paper misquoted me. I believe Councilman Beam is trying to distort the story to his own means. But that being said, Mr. DuPont, there's a motion that was made. So what should we do? Just see if there's a second?
No, if there's no second, so the motion died.
That was exciting. Any other workshop discussions? Seeing none, any petitions? Mayor and council. Referendums now? No. Next are reports. Mayor and council. Councilman, we go.
All right. Last Saturday, I went to, unfortunately, services for a long-time Department of Public Works employee, Fred Foss. It was held at the Belmar First Aid. It was very nice to see how many of his coworkers from the Department of Public Works was there to honor Fred. Everybody was there. Former Mayor Ken Pringle was there, gave a real nice eulogy for Fred. And he commented on what a hard worker Fred Foss was. And he truly was. If you saw him work in DPW, hard worker. And then he had his own landscaping business that he would go to after work. But one thing about Fred that I don't think the mayor knew, that at his lunchtime, he used to go down to Belmar Fitness, because that's the time I used to work out, and watch him work out like a madman. I mean, not only did he work DPW, he went to a physical workout in the gym, and I've never seen anyone fight cancer as hard as that man did. It was just a wonderful service. And Andy Murley came back, Marty Westerfield came back, Jackie Dowling came back. I mean, that's a really nice thing that the DPW guys, the camaraderie that our workers showed. You know that when I'm up here, I'm always touting the success of our kids that came through the rep program. You know, Neil Sterling is at Monmouth. He's having a great football season. Probably won't get drafted by the NFL, but he'll probably be invited to a camp. He's had a great season, according to his dad. You've heard me talk about Marina and Michaela Mabry all the time, great basketball players. But at Fred Foss's service, I talked to Colleen Waldman. Her son Abe came through the rep program. She told me that even though Abe could not ever get, you go off the left foot if you're going to shoot a layup with your right hand, you know, over and over again. But she told me that he is now in the first year of a 4-year doctorate program at Harvard for biochemistry. So I guess it goes to show that if you don't know how to shoot a layup, it doesn't really matter how far you go in college. So congratulations to all those players that came through the rec program and are going to Harvard and the other top schools. Very good.
Thank you. Councilwoman Cleo Blackburn.
I also was at the service on Saturday and was so happy to at least get a chance to speak to Fred's wife and to see his two children. Unfortunately, it was under those terms, but I also was impressed with the number of people who were there. Government Day was last week, where the Belmar Elementary School children, I believe it was the 7th graders, came here, and each one took a job, so they tagged along with different people that work here. And I understand the children that were with the fire department all got to go in the fire truck, and the first aid people were very upset because then they had to take them in the first aid truck. The council, the mayor and council were here, and Mr. McGovern and I had a chance to speak with them, and then Mayor Doherty came and spoke with them also. Hopefully, all of the children learned a little bit about what happens in town government. Football game this past Sunday, the rec department ran a bus trip up there. Ray Claudio did an excellent job on doing the weather for us. It was 60-some degrees, we all got tan. The game went a little bit as expected, the Jets lost. Ray was not there, he was sick, and April did a fantastic job on Sunday doing his duties for him, so thank you. The new playground at Cleary Park, the kids are in there. I stopped the other day, there were about 20 children. They all looked like they were having a good time. And I talked to 2 parents, and they are thrilled with the playground, so we're looking forward to the official opening of it. The senior luncheon is this coming Wednesday, the 22nd. Instead of being here in the community room, it'll be at DJ's at 11 a.m. And we all know what kind of good food he puts on for us. And also speaking about DJ's, Bash for Cash is next Saturday night, the 25th. Tickets are $10. All of the proceeds go to all of the nonprofits in town. So if somebody from one of the nonprofits has not grabbed you to buy tickets, I always get mine at the door because I belong to so many organizations here. $10 and all the proceeds go to the nonprofits, about 6 or 7 here in town. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Meany.
No report tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
Councilwoman Nicolay.
First, starting with the Belmar DPW, very simple. They're just getting the town clean and ready for winter. I like snow. Either way. Belmar Recreation, there's a Broadway bus trip to all the town Friday, December 12th. The bus leaves from Piano Plaza at 4 p.m. and the cost is $65 per person. The Belmar Arts Council, Grassroots, a showcase of student and shared interest group members' works, is currently on display until November 7th. The gallery tours are Wednesday through Saturday, 1 to 5 p.m. Next concert will be a teen showcase from theprojectmatters.org on Saturday, October 25th at 7 p.m. Tickets are $10 at the door. Tickets for the Creole Girl Gala to benefit Tracy Orsi of Raging Cajun are on sale through tomorrow, Friday, October 17th at the Belmar Arts Council for $20 each. The gala is Sunday, November 2nd at the Headliner from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. I don't know if anybody knows Tracy. She's one of the owners at Raging Cajun, and she is ill. We would greatly appreciate any support that you could help towards Tracy. An art auction will be held at the gala with over 40 pieces that the Belmar Arts members have donated, and all proceeds go to Tracy. Had the privilege today to be part of Teacher for the Day at Belmar Elementary School, and I was working with first graders. Mayor Doherty was there as well. He was pre-K. They do it according to intelligence. But it was a great day. It was great to see how they work. The teachers are tremendous there. They have new programs in place that I was able to learn about. Had a lot of fun with the kids, and my favorite part of the day or the morning was when one of the children asked our mayor to spell diarrhea. I just thought that was cute. I don't know why little kids sit there and think of those things, but again, it was a great honor to be part of that. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that with us.
And he couldn't spell it. That's all.
It's not an easy word to spell, by the way.
Good day.
Yeah, I just like Council President McGovern said, I thought the services for Fred Foss were outstanding. The Department of Public Works did a great job. All the food that was donated from the many businesses in town And then the Friendly Sons of Shirley opening up their clubhouse for folks to come in for a drink afterwards. I thought it was great. Tremendous amount of love for Fred Foss's family. I have a couple things that I'm going to do in what I like to refer to as segments. We have a new way of doing my reports. So the first segment is going to be rumors. The rumor segment. First rumor, that if I win re-election, I plan on running for office, a higher office next year. Not true.
Mayor, this is town business, not your future.
Well, no, this is my report. The old Belmar Fitness is going to be a bar. Not true. It's going to be a nightclub. Not true. It's going to be a martini bar. That's not true. It's going to be a beer hall. That's not true. The new owner is a gentleman named Rob Alisio. He is kind of referred to in town as Pepsi Bob. He owns one of the Pepsi franchises. He's actually providing the drinks for the bonfire this coming Saturday night. And he actually has a meeting tonight at Belmar Fitness with folks that live in that area to explain what his true intentions are. But the rumor that there's going to be a liquor license of any sort or any liquor establishment going to that location is simply not true. Another rumor, that DJ's is looking to install a pool in their parking lot. That is not true. They're not looking to install it. And actually, the owners are here. If you want to meet with them afterwards, I'm sure they could reaffirm that that's not true. Also, that DJ's is looking to tear down houses adjacent to them and expand their business. That's not true either. They're not looking to tear down any houses by them or expand their business up 18th Avenue. Last rumor, and this one, it just seems to keep coming back, that my wife and I financially benefited from Sandy recovery. Also, not true. And these allegations have been going on for a while now. I'm actually going to read you a letter dated back in April from the Attorney General's office. Dear Mr. Doherty, you have inquired as to the status of this investigation into allegations that the contract for the cleanup of storm debris in Belmar was improperly awarded. Please advise that the Division of Criminal Justice has closed its file on the above allegations. They closed their file because it simply was not true. So that's my rumor segment. Next segment is, I guess I'll refer to this as the ridiculous. This is the ridiculous segment. The campaign manager for Jim Beam, a woman named Joy DeSantis, she's been emailing my employer, Creative Financial Group of New Jersey and Wall, harassing them about my status there. They have not responded in any way, and they're not going to respond in any way. The same woman has also been calling business associates of my wife and harassing them about Maggie's interaction with them. Again, these folks are not talking with her, but it's part of what I like to refer to as the ridiculous segment of my report. The next one is really something that I think is going to take a lot of people by surprise. And I like to refer to this as when you don't think they can get any worse. I'm going to read you something that was posted on a Republican website here in Belmar. This was posted Friday, September 19th. I'm going to read it verbatim. Watch it, guys. Soon Mayor Doherty will feel compelled to push baby Seamus around in his carriage for protection whenever he walks anywhere. So when you think it can't get any worse.
What website was that on, Matt?
That was on Common Sense for Belmar.
Oh, was it a comment?
.org.
It wasn't posted by the blog, it was a comment.
So posting on this website. And I gotta tell you, Seamus is 9 months old. He can't defend himself. When my political opponents slander my wife, she can write a letter. When they attack me, I can respond. A 9-month-old cannot. A 9-month-old is not fair game. on the administrator of this site to immediately remove my 9-month-old son from his website, stop mentioning him or posting anything about him,
I've never mentioned them.
and stop mentioning anything about my wife while you're at it. And again, I'll be happy to supply this to the press so they can take a look at it as well. That's my... Which blog was it on? It was on commonsenseforbelmar.org.
Well, the manager of that should have taken it right off, right?
Censor it.
Correct. The manager of it is a
Did not do
gentleman
it.
named David Schneck. He's the former Republican council candidate for 2013.
Mayor,
We should ask him why he left it on.
well, actually, who posted it? Don't they have names?
They don't have, they have a fictitious name, it seems.
Is
But
it-
the only thing I can go back to is that it's on that website. Now, if you really want to try to get into defending a councilman, I think you're going to have a difficult time defending, including a 9-month-old in a political attack against him.
No, I'm not defending I'm not defending what was written, I'm defending, I'd like to know who posted it.
But don't you think it should have been taken off right away?
I didn't read it, I
No,
don't
no, what do you think it should have been taken off right away?
I'm not making any,
Oh.
I'm not, you know what?
That right there is profiling courage.
And that was not.
Oh, Mayor, you know what, to sit here and to attack Joy DeSantis while you have the microphone and she has no response back,
Are you kidding?
just saying.
No, I think it's important for people in Belmar to know that your campaign manager is
Can we have a
harassing both my employer and my wife's business associates. And I think it's important for them to know that the former Republican councilman, or council candidate, thinks it's okay, and I don't think you feel the need to defend it, to mention a 9-month-old on their political blog.
Mayor, we could just have a meeting where you can just do all your political stuff.
Why don't we have a debate about this? Why don't you two get together and have a debate? I say right now, let's have a debate. Before the election, Mayor, there's so much difference between you two. Talk it out, guys. Let everybody in town hear what you both feel about. A debate. We had it 4 years ago. Come on, Brian. You wouldn't debate me last year, Brian.
No shouting from the audience. I'd be happy to have that, but I don't feel.
Come on, let's do it. Jim, will you go with the debate, Jim?
I will not.
No, why not? Why not?
Because I will not debate somebody who I feel is untrustworthy and unhonorable.
We're gonna look up unhonorable. All right, let's move off the reports and on to approval of the minutes.
Oh, that's me. I move that the minutes of the meetings held on October 1st, 2014 be approved as reported and that a copy thereof be posted on the borough's website.
Thank you.
Councilman King Blackburn, Councilman Glover,
Yes.
Councilman Dean.
Yes.
Councilman Nicolak.
Yes.
Mayor Darrell.
Yes. Next resolution authorizing payment of, I'm sorry. Next is public session on resolutions. Since the public portion for resolutions, any comments, questions on the resolution, council, please raise your hand with the call icon to the microphone. And then maybe seeing none, I will make a motion to close the public session for the resolution council.
Second?
All in favor?
Next is the resolution authorizing payment of bills. This is on the resolution count, not on the consent agenda. Does anyone have to recuse themselves?
Not my knowledge.
Fishing Club.
Well,
So that's,
not on the building.
Oh,
on bills.
First bills. I'm not aware of any conflicts on the bills.
All right, I'll offer the payment of bills.
Councilman King Blackburn.
Yes.
Councilman Glover,
Yes.
Councilman Dean.
This letter to residents by Kintac, 1014, is that the one that we sent out about the debt state, or about the debt?
I have to check my records.
I believe it is. I will not vote authorize a letter being sent out that inaccurately states what our debt is, without even stating about the 4.5 million FEMA disaster loan. And I thought it was very blatantly misleading. So I have to vote no on this whole thing because I cannot allow the taxpayers to pay for something that is not true. So I vote no.
Yes.
Yes. Next is resolution permitting special permits for social affairs for the Belmar Fishing Club. We only have one swanky person who's a member of that. I will offer.
I'll second.
Councilman Keeler Blackford?
Yes.
Councilman McGovern?
Yes.
Councilman Dean?
Yes.
Mayor Doherty?
Yes. Next is the consent agenda. I'll offer the consent agenda.
Second.
Colleen, boardwalk benches, that has anything with Martirano?
No, no, sorry. Low bid went to, I believe it's Oak Tree Sheds.
Okay.
Councilman Keeler Blackford?
Yes.
Councilman McGovern?
Yes.
Councilman Dean?
Yes.
Councilman Nicolay?
Yes.
Mayor Doherty?
Yes. Next are the ordinances. There's only one ordinance. I recused myself from this last time, so I'll just be consistent. Recuse myself. Again, I do not believe I have any conflict with this, but since there is pending litigation, which we believe will be dismissed relatively soon, hopefully save some money, I'll stand all days.
Okay, I offer ordinance 2014-18, an ordinance amending and supplementing Chapter 14, Department of Finance of the General Ordinances of the Borough of Belmar pertaining to Section 13, receipt of bids. Do I have a second?
Second.
Councilman Keeler Blackford?
Yes.
Councilman McGovern?
Yes.
Councilman Dean?
Couple questions. Councilman Blackburn, I'm going to start with you because you just voted. Out of curiosity, after reading your comments from last meeting in the CoStar, what made you change your mind?
This is the vote.
Yeah, I know. I have a question before I vote. I would like to know her opinion before I vote.
Well, typically when you have a resolution that's been seconded, you have comments.
I voted for 3 years. I've been asking questions before I vote. Is that incorrect?
Yeah, but typically before the whole mayor and council votes, it's topic
Well,
to discussion.
I know how she voted now, and I'm just curious. Maybe I want to vote the same way. I want to hear her reasoning. Would you like to?
She chooses the answer.
Yeah, that's fair. You choose the answer.
Along with what Mr. McGovern said earlier, I agree with things that he said. I believe in this ordinance, but there's been so much infighting in town. It is harming our town at this moment.
Okay.
So that's why I'm voting yes, and that's all I have to say about it.
I'm just wondering, who told you that we are rescinding it? Like, how did you find out?
How did I find out?
Who told you? Just look at the petition, or I'm sorry, look at the agenda and say, wow, we're repealing it, or how'd you find out about it?
This ordinance was sent to you on a computer.
And that's how you-
Okay, so I read it.
So you found out that, because it's just unusual that you get the ordinance and then automatically change your mind without having any
No, I
discussion.
don't automatically do anything, Mr. Dean. I sit and I think and I ponder, and I think what's best for the people in this town before I make any decisions here. I don't just go like that.
So
It was discussed earlier. It's enough discussion. Can we just get on with the vote? There's 2 more votes here.
No.
And also, one more question. The mayor had stated that, Mr. DuPont, you were filling out dismissal papers, I believe that was the word, or dismissal for the frivolous lawsuit. Did you ever do that?
Dismissal of frivolous lawsuit, in connection with this lawsuit?
Yes, it is. In addition to reporting the lawsuit to the LAC, the mayor said the borough attorney will be making a motion to dismiss the case on the grounds that it's a frivolous lawsuit that was filed months after the time frame by which to challenge the ordinance.
I believe that as a result of your action today, that you will have to be asking for that.
Well, but look, if it's Did you make a motion to dismiss the case?
It's part of the answer.
Did you make a motion
It's
to,
part of an answer that was filed.
did you make a motion to dismiss the case? Yes or no?
It's part, yeah, it's part of an answer, yeah.
Yes, you made a motion to dismiss the
It's not
case.
a motion, it's part of an answer that's been filed with respect to the pleadings. And so before we even get to a motion, you have to file pleadings. So one of the things that I think as a result of your action today, we're not going to have to ask for that. So I think now we just have to move on with voting.
Look, if it's a fictitious lawsuit, judge will throw it out.
Well, let's hope so.
Well, we're removing it.
Well, you still need to vote.
So yes.
I didn't hear about the hearing.
Yes.
The lawsuit.
That's all for the ordinance calendar. Next is public session. Public session is very simple. Raise your hand when you call on, come up front. Everyone gets 5 minutes. If for some reason you feel that you can't control yourself in your seat, please exit the back. If you do disrupt other people while they're speaking, you will forfeit your right to come up and speak yourself. So, any, who would like to come up and speak? Yes, Tom.
I'd like to compliment
Name, address, for record, please, sir.
Tom Volker, 301 4th Avenue. I want to compliment Mayor and Council for voting to withdraw or to eliminate that from the ordinance that's in question. I think it's an effort to bring people together who have serious concerns, and I salute you for that. I think that the petitioners raised some valid concerns, but I feel that when you get your heads back together and try to come up with something that will accomplish what some of you want to do and then what some of you others want to do, that will be able to come and come up with something that will benefit the town. I think there should be an opportunity for a contractor who has a very excellent reputation and has very good workers, but doesn't have a training program and doesn't have, I forget the kind of wages that we're talking about here, but yet he is trying to provide work for his people. I think there should be an opportunity for that good contractor to bid on our projects. So that's just me personally, and I feel that there's an opportunity to take a look at it and try to address some of the concerns. So again, thank you for voting yes on that.
Thank you.
My name is Bill Kaiser, I'm 102 19th Ave. With this ordinance that you just brushed out, people have the wrong, if there's federal money involved with that, I don't care if you're the best contractor in the world, you're going to have to pay prevailing wage. This is a federal law that says if you use federal money on any project, you have to pay prevailing wage. Now, with the prevailing wage, if you don't use the apprenticeship program, you have to pay everybody the highest wage that they have. That's the thing that you signed into law. The carpenters have one of the best apprentice programs in the whole country, you know. Now, there's probably a bunch of good contractors that could do the job, but they're still going to have to pay their people the same amount of money as if you had to give it to a union contractor. It doesn't make a difference. You can fight and argue. You can eliminate some of the stuff with the material, but with the labor, you're not going to change that. You're not going to change the amount. Unless you're going to pay for it, we're going to pay for it ourselves. I don't think we are. We're going to use federal money, and we're going to have to pay prevailing wage. Thank you.
Document 1714
Fifth Avenue, I think everybody can hear me. There are people in the audience who are upset that I don't come to the microphone, but I think I'm good here. With regards to the blog, to answer your question, Councilman Bean, fake names are used, like Miss Perspicacity, Guardian Angel, Southie, who said I was crazy. The worst comment about me was that I poisoned the minds of the students that I taught. That was on the blog, and that was allowed to be on the blog. And when my husband reached out to the administrator, he said I should expect those kinds of comments because of the support that I give you, Mayor. That's true.
So what I said.
So I don't think the administrator is really trying to heal people or do good with that. With the blog, when he allows those kinds of comments, freedom of speech, precious. But the abuse of the freedoms are something that concern me. So those are the kind of things, but nothing worse than what you said tonight, Mr. Mayor, about your baby. That's all I have to say. It's a bad thing. It's a poisoning the minds of my students.
Hi, I'm Patty Ramonto. I reside at 110th Avenue. That's a home I've lived at for 23 years with my husband. I want to address a quote from a letter sent recently to Belmar voters from Jim Beaton. You quote, "First, I want to talk to you about DJs. It is no secret that the owners of DJs are working very hard to get Mayor Doty reelected. They register employees and patrons as Belmar voters. I'm an employee of DJs for over 10 years. So exactly what do you mean by they register patrons and employees as Belmar voters? Of course we do, we can, that's what they are. They're legitimate voters. Are you saying that me, an employee, or a patron like my husband can't exercise their right in the electoral process? It seems to me that you don't want us to. I don't understand that. I lived here for many years. I know all the people that were registered. They've lived here years. They have strong ties to the community. You also quoted, in last year's election, they hand-delivered nearly 100 absentee ballots to the Board of Elections in Freehold. Well, Jim, I was personally responsible for 10 of those ballots. All legal, all accepted by the Freehold Election Board, and none of which I knew the outcome.
Would you like a response? Out of that 100, about 30 of them got kicked off for being illegally registered.
Including someone that I brought in at one point that got kicked off, that legitimately lives in Belmar, because they live right next door to me.
I don't say if they're legal or
They live
not.
right
I
next
just
door.
turn them in and
They
say,
still live there, and they still have, they didn't get to read it on the special vote.
that's not my fault.
Ms. Mike.
Mike Speck, 110 Second Avenue. Just want to bring something up to the council. Just want to touch upon an article I was in last Sunday's Asbury Park Press about the cost of roads in New Jersey and how they're $2 million a mile. And the article goes on to reference how these costs are much higher than any other states around. And a lot of them have to do with, ordinances, the likes we've seen tonight that are being rescinded. But we're hearing from the council that, the intent is in a month or so to revisit this issue and put it back in place. And, I think the petitioners really want a sincere response from you, Mayor Doherty, that their concerns are about the fact that these types of ordinances limit competition and raise prices to the order of 40% higher. They also talk about the fact that a lot of this is born on the fact that these entities that benefit give generous donations. So the circle is that they donate, they get people elected, and then they get rewarded at the expense of all the residents in the town. Is that what you want to perpetrate on the residents of Belmar, these non-competitive type of ordinances that raise our costs and cost us more money? Because I know you've been saying in every council meeting, there's no new taxes in 4 years, but even in your letter out to the residents explaining the debt situation is much higher than when you took office, and there's still many projects to do. So when I read about the fact that on the very night this ordinance is supposed to be rescinded, there's already talk in the paper about coming back with another one. It just doesn't seem genuine. It seems like exactly what many people are concerned about. This is all to circumvent the lawsuit. This is all to just put it aside. There won't even be a second vote on this before the election, will it? Is that a question that can be answered?
Say it again, Mike.
Will there be a second vote on this ordinance, the repealing of this ordinance, or is there a vote necessary, Council President McGovern?
Well, when we received the petition for what we voted on tonight,
Correct.
yeah, there has to be a second reading, right? Because tonight was the first reading of that ordinance. That's correct.
Okay. So in fact, as of tomorrow, to address Jim Bean's concern, this ordinance still is in effect, technically, isn't it?
Mike, I guarantee you that when we vote again on this, my vote to rescind that ordinance will be the same.
Council President, with all due respect, the article in today's Co-Star is citing, I know the gentleman probably misquoted her, our borough administrator stating the fact that they're going to start researching other towns and putting some other language similar to this back in place. You yourself opened up negotiations at the $500,000 mark. And now that you're taking questions, and I do appreciate this greatly, why would a $500,000 threshold be fair to the citizens of Belmar?
I just use that as a starting point. I don't know what would be a good starting point. But I just used $500,000.
Well, explain to me why.
Because we had to start somewhere, and I just used, I think $500,000 is a lot of money.
Okay, but on projects above that, we need to have this ordinance protecting us, and on projects below that, which before Sandy was a substantial amount of work done in town.
Well, I think these smaller projects won't be as critical as needing the skills and needing the machinery. I think a multi-million-dollar project is going to need the greater skills of the workers and machinery than of a smaller project in town. You know, I think that it's just common sense that a bigger project needs a bigger company.
500 other towns do projects without this language in their ordinances, and they're protected.
We're looking into
the
that.
Contractors are insured.
And we're looking into that.
And the other thing, like I said about this article, it talks about the contributions. I mean, is that what motivates people to get the continued contributions from the unions? Is that why we're going to revisit this in a month? Is that really what the language is there to do? Because again, it's non-competitive. You're clearly taking in contributions and spending them to get re-elected, and you're making all the people in Belmar pay for it.
And I'm also reading this article, the state's dense population, high cost for acquiring land, and the expenses for relocating utilities are major factors for expense. When you open up a road, there are so many more utilities. Digging on a street in Union City is a lot different than digging on a street in Sussex County. Let's be honest with one another. That's the same article. So there are many reasons there cost $2 million.
I don't live in Newark. I only care about Belmar.
So do I.
Well, then this is the type of stuff.
That's why it's more expensive in New Jersey.
You should take input from residents who don't want to pay more and want competitive bidding, and basically sit there as trustworthy elected officials and say, we're going to honor the petition, we're going to drop this language, and it's going to stay dropped. That would be the right thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Vincent T. Eamon Jr., 1218 Oakwood Road. All right. Hopefully, we all speak the same language, Brian. You said earlier that you were doing this because this is what the people, this is what the petitioners wanted. What the petitioners wanted is very clearly stated in a petition signed by a legal number of voters. It is not this. We didn't ask for this, Brian. So that's disingenuous, it's dishonest, because what the petitioners asked for is what we asked for, line per line, to be stricken out of the ordinance. There can be nothing left to question here. I don't know where your confusion is, Brian. But for the record, Patrick, this is not what the petitioners asked for. So when we asked for apples, and you all get together and do a great show and give us bananas, we're not grateful. No matter what our leader says, you didn't hear us. We specifically, in English language, stated in the petition, which was accepted, which was in clear language, signed by the more than enough registered voters. Now back to our republic, because it's in a very sad shape tonight. I think most of you must think we have a democracy, but we have a republic. And Counsel DuPont, the attorney for a lawsuit, Kenneth Pringle, had nothing to do with a voter petition. Under the Faulkner Act, we, the people, still retain some power. Can you live with that? No, really. I think I was the only one sitting in the court that day. You know, Steve Edelman had passed away, God bless him. And I'm saying this for Steve because he was a great guy. Yeah, wasn't he? Yeah, and he had a mouth on him worse than me. But I'm sitting there hearing the argument of William Northgrave for the borough in defense of the redevelopment of the boardwalk. And basically he said, well, Judge Lawson, you know, if they want to change it, let them wait a couple years and vote new people in. Oh, really? So that's our republic? Maybe it's a republic you lawyers want. But no, we don't have to sit around. And even if we're the minority, which is what a republic preserves, we have the right under our Constitution to petition in English, Brian, ask for something. You don't want to give it back to us, don't say I'm giving it back to you. You're not giving back what we asked for.
Yes.
Hi, Andrea Ganguza, 110 14th Avenue. First of all, I didn't know Fred Foss, but condolences to his family because I've only heard wonderful things about him. I didn't know he passed, but that's very sad. I don't even know what to say. I'm so tired of having to come up here every week. I almost feel like we have to shake the truth and transparency out of the trees sometimes. I am an independent voter. I vote my conscience, I vote the facts, I vote my mind. And ever since I've been coming to this meeting, I feel insulted that we're always so divisive. You guys have all been elected for the people of this town, all of the people of this town. The green voters, the Republicans, the Democrats, the independents, and I am so insulted week after week of hearing Republican this and element that and the other side. Can't we just all agree that we all have Belmar's best interests in mind? Because I'm really, really tired of hearing it, and I'm sure a lot of other people are too. You represent all the people, or at least I hope you do. I also want to say I think it's reprehensible that your son was put on that blog. I think it's reprehensible when any child is brought into any situation like that. To me, that's the ultimate form of bullying. We have a young man who was here tonight, and I'm sure he's taught in school. I'm sure you taught it in school, Mrs. Dyke, and you, Mr. McGovern. Bullying is just wrong, it's bad, it's unacceptable. the bullying that goes on this panel, and you did it twice tonight, Matt, when you found it necessary to say to Jim Beam, oh, that right there, ladies and gentlemen, is a profile in courage. Oh, we're gonna look up unhonorable. You know what? You are not above reproach. You have made mistakes. You have used wrong words. You have lied. You have had to go back and correct yourself. Don't bully people. It's wrong. And you should know that. You've got children at home. Stop bullying Mr. Bean or anybody else. You bully, don't make faces at her. That's outright bullying. And I personally don't like it as a voter of this town. This may be my final comment. I asked you how much money we owed, what our debt was in town. As a taxpayer, I'm concerned about that. I got a letter with a lot of words. I'm still looking for a number. So now that you've done the research, can you give me a number instead of a lot of words that justify a lot of numbers? Because that's what I asked for.
I believe the letter I sent you, it had the numbers.
It had a lot of numbers, and it had a lot of justifications around it, and a lot of semantics. I just want a number. I mean, I've been hearing 42 million, 52 million, anywhere in between. I heard, you said 6 million or 6.4 million. I just want a number. You did your research. You wrote this.
It's all in that letter. You can add it up.
I don't want to. You did your research. Can you please give me a number within, as I think Fred said last week, within 5 million. I'm good with that. A number. You did your research. You wrote this whole beautiful letter. Just give me a number. Do we owe 20 million, 30 million, 40 million, 50 million? Any one of those.
If I have the letter in front of me, I can add it up for you.
You did your research. You don't know what you found out. When I do my research, I know what I've learned.
Well, no, I'll be honest with you.
You're looking at your clock to see how much time I have
No,
left?
I'm stopping you. I'm stopping the time because I don't want to interfere. I want you to make sure you have 5 minutes.
Thank you.
As I speak, it shouldn't be charged to you.
Thank you. Oh,
You're welcome. No, the CFO and the business administrator put that letter together.
oh, okay.
They do the research.
All right, this business administrator, because the CFO isn't here. Can you give me a number? You put a letter together.
Yes, I did, and those numbers are in the letter. I do not have a copy in front of me, but if you do, I can do the math for you and that'll go.
If you have the letter with you, we'll add up for you right now.
Why didn't you just add it up and give us a number in the letter? Why do we need all the semantics around it, which is what I'm not understanding what that was all about?
Well, it's not
We
semantics.
asked for a number. We need to know what we're on the hook for here.
Right, that's why we explained it. I don't know how to address you because you're going to think I'm bullying you, but
Oh, come on, do you know what, was that necessary? Seriously? You're so sophomoric when you do that. You don't need to go there. You really don't need to go there. That was so wrong.
I'll tell you that the words in the letter explain the numbers. If you add the numbers up, I guess we could have added them up. We chose not to, but if you have the letter with you, I'll add them up right now. If you leave her your email, she'll send you the total
All right,
number.
I can add numbers. Are you not concerned with what our debt is? Do you not know a bottom line or want to know a bottom line number? That's my question. You left it up to the business administrator and the CFO. They wrote a letter. And all we're looking for is, give me something to hang my hat on. An approximation. Can you even, as the mayor of this town, do you have an approximate number of the debt we owe? I get our answers now.
We put in a letter to you.
This is my last comment, because I'm not going to believe what you're standing out at this point.
No, that's bullying.
That was unnecessary. I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not really familiar with the Faulkner Act, I guess, as much as I should be. Councilwoman Nicolay, can you tell me, what is the Faulkner Act for? What is it supposed to do?
This is the comment section. This is not
I'm asking a question.
Well, that's a legal question. If you
All
want.
right, well, it just sounds to me like you're trying to undermine the spirit of what I know the Faulkner Act to be. And it's designed to provide choices for the people of the town. The people of the town made a choice. If every time a petition was served, you just repealed an ordinance and then went ahead the next month and reintroduced an ordinance, where did the people get their say? That seems to me to undermine the spirit of what the act was designed for. So I think that the people of the council and the mayor maybe need to get a little bit of a lesson in an executive session or somewhere from our attorney as to what the Faulkner Act is, so you can know what you're voting for and you can answer questions about it, because it's an important thing to know. I apologize again, and I think it's reprehensible what happened to your son, and well noted. Thank you.
Yes, Tom?
How's the letter, 1000 River Road? A few things here. Brian, after all this conversation back and forth between you and Jim, yourself and Jim, you knew all the time that this is the first reading, correct? All the time you knew that this is the first reading, this is not a done deal. It has to be voted on again, brought up and voted on again.
It says right there, first reading, absolutely, I knew that, and everybody
But
on
that
council.
never came up between you and Jim. Those words were never said. It was only said when Mike got up and spoke, Mike Seaback.
But
Now-
Jim was aware of it. That was the first reading.
All right. You were aware as well.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, may I address the attorney here?
Tom, just address the council.
All right. As far as the borough attorney asserting that he feels that the judge will get rid of the petition upon this first reading, that changes everything in that it's only the first reading. It's not a done deal. This ordinance is not rescinded as of tomorrow, as of the next reading possibly, but not as of tomorrow. So that petition will stand, I'm sure. So we still might be on the hook for another $17,000 election here.
We'll find out October 31st. That's the day we decide.
Exactly, so another $17,000. You waited way too long. You could have done this and saved us a lot of money. We might be on the hook for another $17,000.
But
So
we
your
don't want to be.
delaying all this really hurts. And plus, I agree with what's been said. I feel that you're going to bring this back, reintroduce it. Also, let me just say this. I'm a real minority here. I don't want any pavilions. I think the beach looks nice. I think it really looks nice. It's a wonderful view. And one other thing, one last thing. Now, all of you have taken the oath to the Constitution, myself as well. I stand by that. Yourself also, Claire. Correct. Now, it doesn't say in the Constitution, nice speech. It says freedom of speech. All sorts of nasty things, every which way, are said every single day. And people have shed their blood for those lousy things to be said. And everything. So you don't just get up and say, oh, I agree, but that's nasty what he said, and it shouldn't be allowed. It's tough. Things are nasty in this world. This is a nasty world. Does anybody know this? So let's not just half-step on the First Amendment. Be in it all the way, or get up and say, I don't like the First Amendment. Declare yourself, one way or another.
How about the abuse of freedom?
There is no abuse except for yelling fire here, and there is no fire. Then you're endangering somebody. Things are not nice in this world, like I just said. Freedom of speech is cut and dry. Freedom of speech.
Yes, ma'am. I guess Jean.
Gene Kramer, 4th Avenue. I want to change the subject a little bit here. Not that many years ago, the issue of political sign pollution was addressed here in town. And the borough's ordinance were changed to make specific rules to make sure that we all don't have to suffer from these signs all over the place. And I've noticed a couple of violations here, and I guess we're getting full bore into the crazy season. One thing, and this is under, by the way, if anybody wants to look it up in the borough's code, chapter 40, article 7, and it all has, this 7.24 refers to signs, and you can look this up yourself. Signs in rights of way. No sign or any part of a sign, except publicly owned, shall be placed in or extend into or over any public right-of-way. Now, the public right-of-way is certainly the pavement of the street, the curb, the grass in between the curb and the sidewalk. Nobody has personal property that reads, or a deed that reads into the street. That means that if you put a political sign up, or even a realtor sign, and by the way, we seem to do things correctly, it has to be on the house side of the sidewalk, at least. Second thing, political signs. And by the way, political signs are permitted, but there are conditions. And by the way, the business of putting signs within the right-of-way, public right-of-way, that seems to be rampant all over town. The other thing I wanted to mention, there is specifically political signs are permitted signs, but there's limitations. In a non-residential district, a political sign may be up to 12 square feet. The sign that's on the corner of Main and 11th doesn't comply with the borough's own code. It far exceeds that. On a residential property, 6 square feet. The other thing, I've seen quite a few non-compliance conditions. 1 political sign per lot. Makes no difference. If you live on a corner property, you have to decide what street you want your sign to face. Or if you're in an apartment complex or a condominium, you decide amongst yourselves, but you get 1 sign, 1 lot. No signs permitted, 45 days, well, this is already gone by. And all signs have to be removed 7 days after the election.
Michael, do you have a minute?
I'm on it, Jake.
Just name and address for record?
Yes. Oh, good, terrific here. Michael Drew, 16th Avenue. A couple of things I want to bring up and talk about. I think we're talking about the resolution. It is my understanding, having been in court more times than I would have mentioned, that if we rescind this tonight on first reading, begin the rescission process tonight, when the attorney goes into court, says to the judge, we are in the process of rescinding the order, what the judge may do is say that upon completion of that rescission, come back and tell me, and then declare whatever kind of information he wants to, whatever kind of verdict he wants to make, or she wants to make at that point. So the judge can stop the clock, or stop the calendar, no matter what, based upon what is done tonight, and what you did was first reading was approved. Number 2, the idea about removing certain words regarding prevailing wage and apprentice program, that type of thing. What I don't think they understand is if you allow them to have an apprentice program, it conceivably costs less to pay for the entire contract than not having an apprentice program. If you don't have one, everybody has to be paid the prevailing wage of a journeyman level craftsman. And what that means is whether you got 1 year experience or 30 years experience, you get paid the same rate based upon prevailing wage. Doesn't matter if you're a trainee, you can you don't have an approved apprenticeship training program, which is simple enough to do, you have to pay prevailing wage for journeyman skilled. So that puts the people with the apprenticeship program at a lower cost than those without. So we would be benefiting from this. And the third point, dealing with your son, your daughters, anybody's sons or daughters, no matter where we go now, it has been generally accepted that other than the spouse, all family members, and in most cases, even the spouse, unless they want to be, are not the person running. I mean, we have a situation in Oregon, you have a situation, where spouses, or presumably first lady, they're not married, they live together. She did some things that they're trying to make reflect on the candidate. It wasn't him, it was done before him. Okay? At least she can defend herself. In the case of children or dependents, they can't defend themselves. Nobody's going to go and interview Seamus or Jack or Brian's grandchildren. Nobody. So they should not be allowed. As far as second freedom of speech, I raised my hand. I'm a 42-year veteran. Okay? There are certain limitations, and that's one of them. Just like on fire in a theater, that's a limitation of freedom of speech. I just think and the administrator has the right to edit these things, just like the editors of a newspaper has the right to edit letters to the editor. Nobody's family, other than the candidates, if they choose to allow their family to be involved, should be involved or mentioned.
Carol Brandy, 110 11th Avenue, back. This is very intimidating, the whole thing. I want to speak on behalf of myself and a college-age student, my daughter. This is all about this, with the, building these pavilions and this and that. The only problem I really had with everything was I wasn't educated. And I was trying to educate, you always want the costumes to vote, and I was trying to educate my daughter on how she should vote. And as a matter of fact, we had trouble at the polls, and she wasn't properly registered, and there was a whole bunch of things. And we stayed there because I said, I want to make sure that you vote, because every vote in this town seems to count. I've been bullied by a lot of people in this town. Okay, I live here, and I like that I now can see all of you, and I think that we should all work for the good of the town. Mayor Doherty knows I've always been in support of good things for the town. The only problem I had with the whole thing was it was 2 pavilions or none. So there was no compromise offered. So that was my only thing, was I was like very confused. I'm going, well, I don't know how much we're in debt. I didn't add the numbers. She had some whatever. The point is that when I'm in debt personally, I would consolidate when people, they sell their houses, this and that. So as a town, I'm like, ooh, is this really going to generate enough to help us with the debt, et cetera, et cetera. So I go, well, why can't there be a compromise? But there wasn't a choice. So it's like, they get yes or no, black and white. So, it's kind of sad because it isn't anything against Mayor, it isn't anything against any of you. It really was just, for me, a business transaction. So if I was sitting next to you, Mayor Doherty, I'm kind of like, well, I don't think that's right. Okay, but there was no compromise offered, and that was really more my problem with the whole thing of, this 2 or none. I really just wanted to say that because it's been very difficult to be heard about anything in this town. As a renter, I'm at the mercy of my landlord who tells lies. As a homeowner, he's not sitting in this room. I wish he would. I wish he would talk to you about how he feels about these things. He told me lies because I saw your thing about the taxes, and so I just feel as somebody that rents from somebody that also has a chance to help make decisions in this town, they don't care. A lot of people live somewhere else. I think more people that rent here annually and stuff should have a voice as well, and they just go run and hide. They don't care. But I am at the mercy of not being educated. Okay, I didn't understand that Faulkner. I really don't understand any of that. So I just want to let you know that I try to make as educated a decision as possible for everybody and for the town, and teach my daughter that as you would teach your kids, because it's their right to vote as they want. Thank you.
Can you have a comment, ma'am?
Yes.
I did make a motion during the vote for the 7 million to get rid of the 7 million, split the buildings up, you know, and take out bonds for each one, and actually I wanted to build the safety building and use the other money for Lake Como. Nobody seconded the motion, so.
I saw that you sent something around about like that we could build for Lent, you know, smart building or something to that effect, and I was happy I received that because I said, oh, okay, but I didn't have a way, I couldn't help you in that in any way, shape, or form like that, but I agree with your mindset. But I said, that's not on, see, it's not on the table. So the choice was because when you go to Avon, they have one pavilion. I know these buildings were there, and it was an act of extreme nature, you know, so it's kind of like, how do you argue against Mother Nature and all this nasty stuff that happened that none of us could control? That wasn't about voting that ripped up the pavilions. You know, it wasn't about anything. So can we really fight for both? Should we restore what was there? I just wasn't educated enough, but I appreciate getting all of Mayor Doherty's information. I wish I got more from you after I was getting more from him, you know, recently. And people are bringing so many things into this, and I know it's really about, you know, why we're here. And if I hadn't looked at the Co-Star today, I wouldn't even known about the meeting. So, and I found it very intimidating to stand up in front of everybody because I've really been bullied in this town, and none of you knows about it. And I just feel that I try to help the town, and Mayor Doherty knows this of anybody for what I did after Sandy. He knows. Okay, so that's why I want to know. I'm a supporter of you, but it's kind of like when these things come up and everybody fights and it's about political parties. I'm not a political person. I'm the music one. Remember that. And it's like, I'm just about, we could have good events if we have a pavilion. Okay, you know, can we live without it? We've been living without it. It's really about the debt. I don't know those numbers. I'm not in this seat doing that. But it's kind of like if you all think in reality, is it going to make us enough, you know, to do X, Y, Z? Is this apprenticeship thing a good, again, not educated. Very hard to make decisions when you're not given enough information that's real and not politically motivated information. Just facts, okay? Like when you go to the police, just the facts, ma'am. You know, so just the facts would really, help, you know, in this situation. So I really actually was surprised that it ended up being no, to be honest with you. I was surprised. So, you know, I just, there's got to be a way to work it out.
Thank you, Carol.
Thank you.
Oak Road. We are a republic, as it was said before, and the power rests with the people. And no matter what happens, if you rescind this ordinance and you bring it back again, we'll do another petition to get rid of it again. If you get reelected, we'll be petitioning whenever you do something wrong, we'll petition you. If Jim Beam gets elected, we'll be on him like flies on poop to make sure that he does the kind of things that we want. It's the power is in the people. You are our representatives, and you will do the bidding of the people. So rest assured that maybe in the past it was different, but now self-governance from the people is going to be what's going to be running this town. And I don't care if Teddy and I have to start with just the two of us, and we duplicate the 4 and 8 and 12 and 16 and 30 and 500. The power rests with us, and it is what we want from now on. And trust me when I tell you, that is the honest way to go. As far as the freedom of speech goes, there is no compromise. It is freedom of unpopular speech that is protected. You can say, you can be a racist and you have that right. You could be a Nazi, you can have that right. You are protected to say whatever you want to say. I believe Dave was wrong for not taking that down. Dave's not a perfect person, maybe he was wrong on that one. I could give you that. He's my friend, but he might have been wrong. But you can't censor freedom of speech, no matter how nasty it is. Okay, and just remember, this is the last time that you're going to be warned. The power is with us from now on. Okay?
Yes.
Hi, Louis Polito, Dean of Manor Apartments on 16th Avenue. Amazed about the warnings and stuff like that being thrown right here. We're all here together as residents of Belmar. We're all here as another lady here so rightly claimed that we should agree that we are all here in the best interest of Belmar. So threats are totally unnecessary.
It's not a threat.
Well, but anyway, regarding the mention of your son on the website, just one quick thing that I have, and that is, there are many responsible websites on the internet right now that moderate and remove comments and postings that are detrimental to the image and the reputation they want to uphold. So there's nothing wrong with anyone, an administrator, taking something down from a website that is totally wrong. So for an administrator, in my opinion, for an administrator to not pull it down, something as bad as that, we all agree that was a bad comment to be left out. For an administrator not to pull it down, suggest one of two things in my opinion. One, is it neglect, or two, that they agree with it. I leave everyone to decide one way or the other whether that's the case. But I think it should be turned down, it should be taken down, it's a reprehensible thing to put up. So the other thing I wanted to say, or ask, is express my concern about whether Mr. Bean, and you know exactly, you understand what it is you're asking for sometimes when you're up on the dais. Many times over the course of the time you've been up here, you've clashed consistently with the borough attorney over procedural actions, things like that, on several occasions refusing to follow things. And today you said that you had done a day's, you spent the day all reading about things to make your presentation tonight. So my question to you is, what makes you think a day's worth of reading at the kitchen table of your things, of your documents, gives you more knowledge than the practice experience and years experience of a borough attorney?
I would love to answer that, because 3 years ago, Mr. DuPont blocked my vote, which he was not allowed to do. And they put in ethics violations, and it came back that I was 100% correct in voting on that. And from that point going forward, I have a very hard time believing a lot of the advice he gives. So I do my own research, so that if I hear something different than what I believe is true, I can go back to my knowledge, and I can answer it the way I feel best suited.
Well, it seems to me that given that the arguments and the things that he puts forward through is very much on target with lots of things. And while we're all human, and that things happen, and that, yeah, and occasionally a broken clock is right twice a day, you know, yes, you may win out on something like that. But the vast majority of his experience and his knowledge and his practice suggests that it should not be totally dismissed at all.
Well, that is just your opinion,
Yeah.
and I disagree with that opinion.
Thank you.
And just to be clear, I'm not saying or in any way insinuating we should curtail the First Amendment, the right of freedom of speech. All I'm saying is that I believe it's wrong to talk about anyone's wife or children in political attack against them. That's all. Obviously, it's up there. There's nothing illegal about it. No one can compel the person to take it down. Maybe they feel ashamed enough to do it, but we have our law enforcement here. They can't go force them to do it. They can't compel them to do it. So I'm not suggesting they do. I just want to bring to people's attention that this is the type of opposition we have, that I face in Belmar.
Tough crowd tonight. Joy DeSanctis, 101 6th Avenue. Mr. DuPont,
Yes, ma'am.
did we file an initiative petition or referendum petition?
Well, I don't have it in front of me, so.
Well, I'm going to tell you, we filed an initiative petition under 40:69A-191. You cannot repeal an ordinance under an initiative petition. You can only repeal an ordinance to satisfy a referendum petition. Repealing, rescinding the ordinance is not, it does not make the petition go away. Were you in court on the lawsuit, or were you in court on the petition?
No, I'm in court on the order to show cause that you filed.
On the lawsuit?
Yes, the order to show cause.
Or you in court on anything having to do with the petition?
Petition on the referendum
Yeah.
that you just had an election for?
No.
The petition, the new petition.
No, that wasn't.
Okay. So you really don't know what the judge is going to say or what he's going to decide tomorrow, because you're not in court on the petition, because they're two separate matters.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, thank you. So by repealing the ordinance, it does not make the petition go away, and we would like the petition to go away. Brian, you said that we, the petitioners, I'm on the committee of petitioners, you said that we refused to negotiate with you? Did you get a copy of our email? Did you want to clarify that? Because I have it right in front of me, and I can read it to you, and it says, "We appreciate your attempt to reach out to us. However, we only wish you had the interest and the willingness at the time we were permitted to discuss this issue. That time was upon presentation of the petition at the September 9th, 2014 meeting, or during the 20-day period following prior to the legal requirements of petition certification. The Faulkner Act has strict guidelines to which we must adhere. We had hopes that 418 signatures would have compelled you to act within the legal time frame." Did you make,
That's the response that I'm talking about. That,
and you
they
think
did
that's
not-
a no?
They did, yeah, I took that as a no, that they weren't going to come in to have a meeting to see if we could discuss.
Because doesn't that say that we just ran out of time to respond to negotiations?
And our attorney at the last meeting, when we were having a workshop session, told us there was still time to negotiate.
That
this.
attorney was
Right.
incorrect, just like Mr. DuPont did not take the time to clarify tonight the difference between a referendum petition and an initiative petition.
Okay,
And
so
that
we're
repealing
going
an
on,
ordinance
our lawyer,
does not satisfy
our
the
attorney
petition.
advised us that there was still time to discuss this petition, and we reached out, and that was the answer that came back, yes.
We just
So
ran
we're
out of time.
basically on the same page, we're a little bit off from each other.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify that, because you
Yes.
said that we were not negotiating, that's not what we said. We copied you with that, and you contacted us October 3rd at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and we responded to you by email.
And
I also-
we
I
were
have-
under the impression by our attorney that there was still time.
Okay.
So, and you people are saying you're out of time, so, there we go.
Okay, the final communication we had was on the Monday following, I think it was the 6th, and you still, Colleen said to us, you don't want to negotiate, and we again repeated, we ran out of time, and then
But there was still time.
there was not time. Then you were in court on the 7th already, somebody decided to repeal the ordinance. I'm only saying that because the petition stands. And if we don't make a decision on it by October 31st, you're going to force an election, not us. You're going to force an election because you should have accepted the language of the petition with the strikeouts that we asked. You didn't have to have the whole big.
Joy, you're sounding very confident out there. Jim sounded very confident. But to tell you the truth, with my feeling is I'm gonna go with our attorney's experience.
He just said he doesn't even know whether it was an initiative petition or a referendum petition. I know what I filed with the group of petitioners. I also want to say, Mayor Darty, I don't know if you know the definition of harassment, but what you accused me of tonight was inexcusable. You published in a newspaper that you were a financial advisor working for a certain company. I believe that the citizens need to know if that is an accurate statement. I know as of today, congratulations, you are properly registered, and I know that because I contacted the New Jersey Bureau of Securities. What I did not know, and you just revealed, was that your wife happens to be their client. So you accused me of something that was really unconscionable as far as harassing. Nothing like that happened. You know that it didn't happen, you know you can't support it, and you know, because I've told you before, that I do record all my conversations. I would never harass anybody, and it was wrong what you did. I'm not gonna say it was on the level of what happened to your son, which I also agree was wrong, and I'm sorry you had to experience that. But you are not bringing this town back together. You're continuing to try to circumvent the law. All we're asking for is to remove the language so that we can open up competition to bidders. The gentleman that said that it would be cheaper to hire unions because then they wouldn't have to be paid journeyman's wages, whatever. Still, it's so confusing, and there is no understanding. If you force an independent contractor or a general contractor that's not a union company to pay journeyman's wages, you just push them right out of the competition. We want both union and private contractors. We don't want to make it more attractive for union. We don't want to make it more attractive for private contractors. We want the playing field level. Thank you.
I'm not sure, I don't believe there is a New Jersey Bureau of Securities.
Yes.
And I don't believe my wife is a...
That's where you register. Did you know that? You did it today, I verified it. That's the jurisdictional body for a financial advisor.
I'll take a look at this. This is under financialplannerworld.com. This isn't a government website.
Well, you can say whatever you want, it is.
But it's not.
The fact that you don't know what that is speaks
My wife
volumes.
has the New Jersey Bureau of Securities as a client.
Well, you know what, right in back of me is another financial person who will explain it to you.
Why don't you? You brought it up.
I'm not a financial. Well, you can't.
So,
I gave them the
as
document.
Wait a minute.
As I mentioned,
Can I say something here?
not right now.
Oh, sorry.
As I mentioned in my report, that was under ridiculous. The idea that, again, someone in town is any of us is harassing us at where we work, sending emails, and having my boss go, Matt, who is Joy DeSantis and why does she want information about you? She wasn't asking for my services. She wasn't asking for the firm's services. She was asking for information about me that they don't give out publicly, and she did it on a Gmail address, which, again, Joy, we have a copy of it. I understand you record all your conversations. I think you're maybe the only person in this room who records all their conversations. But I would tell you that it's still going to fall under ridiculousness, and I would still classify it as harassment. Yes, Judy?
My name is Judy Young. I live at 303 Main Avenue. I'm sitting in the back next to a lady who said, oh my God, this is like Jerry Springer. She lives in Sharp River, and I'm really embarrassed because I live here in Belmar, and I think that this is really embarrassing. I think that people get up, they talk about things, they accuse people of things, they actually say you're a liar, you're dishonest, and it's exhausting and it's embarrassing, and I would like it to stop. I don't care what party you represent, it needs to stop. I would also ask the woman in the back who came up and said, hey, I need to be educated. I would ask the mayor, I would ask Councilman Bean to have a debate so that we could get educated. I think that we could have... I think that we are adults. I think that we could have a debate. Last I looked, again, I don't care what party you're for, last I looked, the presidents of the United States debate. And I learn a lot when I watch them. I may disagree with them, but I learn a lot when I watch them. So I would hope that we could come to a civil way to debate. Secondly, I think that Mr. DeSantis came to my home a couple weeks ago and accused Matt's wife of certain things, and when I questioned him, he walked away saying, well, maybe I shouldn't be saying those things, because I'm not really sure. So if you're going to go around and talk about what is going on in town, I think it's important that you have your facts correct. Third of all, I think that this is really a shame because we have a town that suffered a tremendous loss a few years ago. And it's a shame that people are just now appearing like Jerry Springer. It's embarrassing. Stop with who's right, who's wrong, and let's get to some of the facts around what you're going to do, Matt, Jim, what you're going to do for this town going forward. I would like to know what you stand for. I would like to know what you stand for. I would like to know in an educated manner so that I can make a decision. Is it November 6th, 9th? When is it? Oh, sorry, November 4th. Thank you. I did HR for a long time. I did HR for a long time for corporations. I cannot tell people when they call about someone about their employment. It's not appropriate. I could say when they started, I could say if they left, that's all legally I can say. And when someone calls and they're questioning me about one of the employees, it's really a shame because what you're doing is you're implying a lot of different things. It's kind of like, oh, strike that from the record. So I think that we're messing around with people's kids, we're messing around with their livelihood. This is a small town. This really needs to stop.
Okay, now that we've seen the old responsible bidding ordinance has been rescinded, I encourage Borough Council to devise one that gives more flexibility in contracts and opens the door towards more bidders, as Mr. Volker pointed out, while ensuring the safety of the public, employees, and construction workers by minimizing the risk of shoddy workmanship. Buildings have changed over the years. We're now seeing 200 amp services in buildings. We're now seeing smart light bulbs, if you can believe it or not. It's called the Internet of Things, connected devices. The more complex the structures become, there's more risks involved. And as a result, we're seeing more and more additions of building codes become much more stringent. Why? To lower injuries and deaths that occur in building construction and as a result of shoddy workmanship. Because if you think the prevailing wage is expensive, try wrongful injury and death lawsuits. Try the loss of businesses to this town if we ever had an incident like that happen. Okay, once that new ordinance has been adopted, then let's put the pavilions out to bid ASAP so that we can have them up by next summer. I would like to see, in addition to the John Taylor and the Howard Pavilion, Taylor Pavilions, 2 open air pavilions at 8th and 13th. Belmar has the only stretch of boardwalk that lacks an open air pavilion, which would actually provide shelter for people as well as ensuring beach views. It has been nearly 2 years since Sandy ravaged our community. The pavilions are the biggest and the most symbolic items that have not been rebuilt. Let's get on with the job. Finally, I am disgusted with how anybody can post and write those kind of comments about a baby. That is crossing the line. I assure you, Mayor Doherty, that most of us, no matter what our politics are just as offended as I am, and the vast majority of people in this room. There is no excuse for this appalling act.
To Main Street, Belmar. I just don't understand why all these arguments between taxpayers and yourselves, and don't build what was there. Why, if you build what was there, it would not be all these problems. Everybody says this, that, against you, against this. Can we just do what was there with nice buildings? It was now around buildings that 10,000 pavilion was excellent, and 6,000 pavilion. Why we just go to this kind of troubles? Please, thinking, get together and put the business up that way it wasn't. And save some money if you can. If you cannot do
Mike, do you one more about it? Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mayor Doherty. Good evening, Mayor Doherty and Council. Again, Mike Sheila, 110 Second Avenue. I just want to comment briefly, because you did bring up the work thing regarding the letter you did send out. You, as far as I understand, have a securities license. and familiar with the terms of full disclosure in the letter. When you send a letter out like that and you hear constituents coming up and saying they're confused, you're duty bound to make sure that the letter is clear. And I want to point out that some of the...
Real fast, what letter are you referring to?
The debt letter.
All right, that has nothing to do with being a financial advisor, correct?
Well, you're talking about the disclosure of debt, and you're talking about the representation of, you make statements to the effect we only have $6 million in debt, when in fact, the bonds that are issued, even associated with the different, quasi-utilities, are general obligations of the people of this borough. So in fact, they're not separate. While they may have a revenue stream, they're not separate entities. It's not like the Turnpike Authority, where the Turnpike Authority can't meet their obligations, they gotta raise tolls. If one of the revenue sources in this town cannot service its debt, it comes out of our pockets. So I think there you have a double obligation to make sure that you're disclosing correctly to the people of this town what the situation is. You went through the trouble of sending that letter out, and I myself found it not thorough enough in its disclosure that all of that debt is an obligation of the borough of Belmar. Revenue notwithstanding. Do you agree with me or disagree with me?
I kind of lost you. I don't know what.
Well, you made a statement at a prior council meeting, Mayor Doherty, that the town only has $6 million in debt that's responsible by the tax, or responsible to the taxpayers, or something to that effect. And that's clearly not true. In the letter you sent out today, you described the debt, you broke it down as associated with different revenue sources, like the utility, the marina, the beach utility. That may be how it's bucketed, but the truth of the matter is, all of that debt belongs to the borough of Belmar. We all own all of that debt, cumulative. And I think that as a financial advisor and someone who is knowledgeable about these things, you have a responsibility to be clear in conveying this message. Do you agree with me or not agree with me?
I believe we were very clear in the letter. Actually, one of the things we argued over was whether or not to make it longer and put more details in.
Well, quite honestly, you should have.
Let me ask a question. Well, I'll be honest with you, some people thought it was a little confusing the way it was. We wanted to try to keep it as simple as possible about what the responsibility is to the residents of the borough of Belmar that is the purview of the council.
But where in the letter did it say that all of that debt was the responsibility of the people of Belmar?
Well, the way the letter reads, it explains how much debt or how much bonded indebtedness we have and how it's going to get paid for. So there's bonded indebtedness at the marina. It gets paid for by, let me finish, by rents at the marina. There's bonded indebtedness at the beachfront, a lot of which has already been paid off by FEMA. There's bonded indebtedness at the water sewer.
No, that's your assumption of how it's supposed to work, and I get that.
No, let me explain. You asked me a question. And then there's bonded indebtedness that there's no revenue source for. That is 100% sole responsibility of the taxpayers of the borough of Belmar. Now you're going to say, yeah, but those are general obligations. No, I understand.
No, they're all general obligations.
No, I
is what I'm
understand.
saying.
No, I understand that. But some have sources of revenue, some don't. So to fully disclose it all, I wanted to let everyone know what the sources of revenue were, what the most recent numbers were for those revenue streams, and so they can have a clear understanding of our long-term debt.
How can you make a portrayal of a clear understanding when you don't put any associated costs with that revenue stream and show an ability to service the debt? And again, even with your assumptions, and I understand what you're doing in terms of allocating the debt towards different revenue streams. But at the end of the day, if the revenue streams do not pay off at the level that you needed to service that debt, that is our debt. The other thing I'd like to just bring up real quickly, and I don't know if you'll answer questions because it's a comment session, the status of the new restaurant in the marina. Do you know what's going on there, or?
Yeah, the company, Chefs International, went out to bid. Bids came in extraordinarily high. It's It's expensive to build by the water. We learned that up on the beach run. So now they're looking to redesign what that building is, to make it more affordable for them to build it.
Okay, were there any assumptions for the building revenue in this? That's exactly my point, in that if revenues don't show up, that debt is there. And that's why people are concerned. That's why when this King Goose gets up here and asks, you know, what's our number, what's our debt outstanding? This is something we all have the right to know, actually the obligation to know, in order to make decisions going forward, and to be informed about our town. It's pretty simple. So if there's no revenue coming in for that restaurant, is it possible now the marina, you know, might have trouble servicing the debt?
No, we're not gonna have any problem servicing any of the debt. We already received money just from the outdoor bar they have there. We'll receive more once the building's done. You gotta remember, this is a great business opportunity for Belmar. And these guys are gonna spend a lot of money, they're gonna build a beautiful building. It's ultimately the borough of Belmar's. You know, and it costs us nothing, and we make a tremendous amount of money over the next 20, 30, 40, hopefully 50 years.
But it hasn't been built. I mean, you made that point, Mayor Doherty, but that's why I asked the question tonight, because there's nothing going on there that evidence that it's moving forward until you just said tonight they've gone out to bid and they feel the number's too high. Does that mean they're not going to proceed, to the best of your knowledge?
Does that mean that they're not gonna proceed?
Yeah, based on that.
I just told you that they went out to bid, they came in high, so now they're redesigning it.
Okay.
So there's no part of that said they're not gonna proceed, right?
They're going to redesign, or they're going to...
They're redesigning it, right, but they are committed to the project.
Thank you very much. Please send out a letter that explains everything in a full disclosure format.
Okay, I would tell you, and maybe I'm wrong, I haven't lived here my whole life, but have you ever gotten a letter that explained the bond indebtedness like the one we sent out? I mean, that's.
No.
I don't think we've ever this far in depth before.
That's a good point. I don't know if we were ever this far.
They never
had a standard.
You never had this before, so you're telling me next time put more details in?
Yes.
Well, you know, we'll definitely take that into consideration, but I'm telling you, there were folks who thought it was detailed the way it was.
Well, people just came up this evening and said they were confused by it, and they don't know what the number is. They asked you for the number, and you're not aware of the number, so.
Well, no, in all fairness, Ms. Gangus came up, I think she had a letter with her. She told me she could add it herself, I told her I would add it for her. I don't have it in front of me. You know, if these weren't, if this wasn't the Jerry Springer show, and people really wanted it summed up, you could email Colleen, she'll email you back, and there's the sum, as opposed to the, you know, the reality show of coming up here and asking questions you already know the answer to, or saying that we're trying to hide something because, you know, I didn't know you were going to come up and ask about this. I emailed and said, listen, can you do me a favor? And tonight I'm going to ask you this question, I have the number. I would do it for you, but, you know.
Well, to that point, Mr. I did email you with a question months ago, and you never got an answer. To this day, so that's...
Well, I don't know if our emails are, because I emailed you about the pipe going out to the ocean, you haven't emailed about that.
You did. You did. That wasn't the question I asked.
I know.
I brought the information up that evening. You asked me to send it to you, and I did.
Send it
Thank
again.
you. All right.
Frank Cementa, 1801 Ocean Avenue. Thank you for mentioning the cash for cash. Relative to that, I just want to say, if anyone has an organization or a charity that they enjoy raising funds for, I'm just saying it's not too late to participate in cash for cash. So. Oh, one more thing. I got a letter from Jim Dean, and in that letter he mentioned DJs 8 times. Mostly to cast us in a negative light, but in as much as they say, no publicity is bad publicity. Thanks, Jim.
See, Dave,
listening to Matt, Frankie and Jim, TJ's. You asked the county people in the article here, what about TJ's getting you votes and taking votes out there and all? Kenny Pickle's first wedding reception was at TJ's. Kenny Pickle, I worked for 20 years. Every year, they were in his office, the night before elections, walking door to door, putting out door handles, going to Freehold with voters. They did the same thing for him that they did for you. Was that wrong, all of a sudden? I don't understand. The Sheriff Town's Tea Party thing. Freedom of speech. You have the freedom to say what you want to do, but you say about my kid, I got the freedom to get arrested. It'll happen. Don't do that stuff. This law is politics, people, but power, give them power. Let me see how well they do.
No.
Real quick, 111 3rd Avenue, Belmar. It's amazing because we all know this, all this chaos is going on because we had this crazy storm. But during the storm, when I worked here every day for 31 days straight, and I volunteered for 2 weeks, I never saw so many volunteers. I saw everybody out there. I saw being out there, my son, my daughter, everybody's. So many people. I was like in shock, the colleges, the people that came, everybody helped. And that was like we're beating each other up. I voted for the buildings. I still want the buildings. I remember during thunderstorms, past 2 summers we've been lucky. But I remember thunderstorms before people, I don't know if anybody would die, but those buildings were there. Were they too much money? I mean, what was it? I was in favor of buildings, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I was shocked that we lost the vote, but congratulations on those people, they did a great job. We're just killing each other. It's like, can't we take a step back? I mean, I wish people would volunteer more. I mean, it just, I can't, I go to work, I'm so happy to work for the town. I look forward to work. I owned business for 20 years, I love that too, but I love working for the town a little bit more. The only thing that could beat us if I was a career fireman when I was young. But I think, like a lot of people said, educated, stuff like that, everybody's got a great right to vote and do everything, but people volunteer more and just do more and, I don't know. Like when I look at the marina, that's when I first started working. First person I think about a lot of people, Charlie, John McGuire, but I think of Kenny Pringle at the top. I remember one of the speeches that he gave when he said, I remember how the cars used to park in an angle right up against the water. And he had this vision to build a sidewalk there, the paving, and it's beautiful. And like John McGuire used to say, George, you don't have to try to rent this place, it rents itself, and it does. I think it's a beautiful marina. When I see the boardwalk, I think of a lot of people, but man, I'm not being a brown nose, and that's what people call me, fence sitter, all this stuff. I look at the boardwalk, I think of you. I think of everybody that did so much there, but I really do think of you. That's why I support it, and that's why even the buildings I want. We're just beating each other up. This snow during this year, it snowed a lot. And I'm getting older, I had to go out there and shovel. We helped a lot of people, people that had heart attacks. People don't know that how much the public work was. I don't know how many houses we did, 10 houses every time. We ran around like chickens, but it was good exercise. And talk about taxes, I can't even put a price tag, because you can't put a price tag on somebody's life, especially if it's one of your own. The first aid, the fire company, the water rescue, I don't even know how much that would cost. We got like 1,300 first aid calls a year, only 200 fire calls, thank God. Water rescue this year alone, the people that was there, everybody, we're always complaining about money. I believe in the apprenticeship program, and I don't know how it works, you have to pay more if you don't have it. I remember, you have to worry about today, your bills too, but you have to worry about your kids in the future getting jobs. I always worry about my kids getting jobs because I know how hard it is to work. But I don't know the answer to anything. That's why when I was younger, I thought I'd sit up there. I wouldn't have the guts. I'm not smart enough. I'm not being mean. I'm not putting myself down, but I don't know how to use computers or any of that. But I don't know. I just wish we could go ahead.
You